What's going on, guys? Welcome to the ASTROLABE, the latest labe ever. This is the alternative to not doing a labe today at all. I had to go get some dental work done this afternoon, and my mouth hurts. And I got a haircut. I actually got all of them cut. Got that done today. So I was busy this afternoon, and I was thinking toward the end of last week, I don't know, I might not be able to do a show on Monday at all. But turns out I was able to get one done. Had enough easy content available, thanks to our great and glorious Gigajew. We are going to get some of the best Gigajew clips in this episode. It's going to be great. Do me a favor, hit the like button. I have got a little tease for you guys. It looks like per X.com, Paul Suda is teasing that he's going to have the bangerangest, what is this? Bangerangest banger montage yet. Maybe by tomorrow. So you guys won't want to miss tomorrow's ASTROLABE. We may very well get a Paul Suda montage. If you guys have been following the show for long enough, then you're well aware what great days the Paul Suda days are. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. I did not wear green today. I was thinking about this is probably maybe a little bit in college, but mostly in high school. Looking forward to St. Patrick's Day and planning out my my clothing for the day. Got to make sure I'm wearing green. Don't want to get pinched, you know. And I haven't thought about St. Patrick's Day in a very long time, much to my chagrin. But I was enjoying seeing everyone's posts. From the sound of it, there's a bunch of you who've been getting drunk tonight, and I strongly endorse celebrating celebrating holidays that are not necessarily native American holidays. But these are some of the things that we can retain of our European heritage. And in fact, St. Patrick is an Orthodox saint. So when you are celebrating the life of St. Patrick, you are engaging in the Orthodox worldview to some extent. So welcome to all of you. Do me a favor, hit the like button. If you'd like to support the show, my wife says sponsor Matt's teeth now. Yeah, so we sponsored Pete's teeth last week. Maybe this is the week that we need to sponsor my teeth. I have a root canal that needs to be done, and just have to get myself to that point. But we got to get Pete's teeth taken care of first. But so if you'd like to sponsor the show, if you'd like to support the show, then hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, sharing the show, that helps a lot. You can join the King Pill Discord at kingpill.com. There's also a Cash App and a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. And you can send a super chat. We will read and highlight your super chat. What do you guys think of this? I was considering this the other day. What do you guys think of having the chat displayed on the side? I don't know. Let's see what it looks like when I share the screen. Does it I'm not a big fan of it, at least in this way. If I start using OBS, then maybe that makes it a little bit better. Let's see. So it makes everything real small. The chat's real big. Yeah, that chat's too large. You guys will get your day in the sun, but that chat is too large. We'll leave it off for now. Politically Catholic says, I can only imagine the Russian Orthodox saint drinking day. That's called Pascha. Yeah. All right. This is, as we get started with the slop, we're going to get started with just an absolutely epic display of autism. I am very sympathetic to the notion that we need to keep ourselves a team of these sorts, and they just need to be contained, I suppose. This is incredible.
For this Guinness World Records title attempt, Aaron's time starts as soon as he sees the first number, and finishes when he inputs the total sum of all 100 numbers. He's using a software that randomly generates 100 4-digit numbers at a specified speed. In order to beat the minimum set for this record, he needs to complete one addition every 0.5 seconds.
Stop. Let's compare. 30 seconds, 0.900 milliseconds. Congratulations. Congratulations.
So it took me, it took me seeing his shirt to actually realize what was happening here. Apparently, I need to know the lowdown on this. Apparently, this this like hand flapping thing, like beyond the jokes, like this hand flapping thing is like actually a calculation method. Is this like some voodoo stuff? Is this like a voodoo scheme that the Browns have kicked up to have developed to mislead me? Because I'm sitting here looking at them just flapping their hands away, and the first thing I think is, oh, flapping his hands around, doing math really fast in his head. This seems like an obvious conclusion here. But I've seen enough of these now where it's like there's some sort of technique to this, some sort of weird Asian counting technique that involves just like flapping your hands like a spurg, which is like too perfect. Every once in a while, the universe just writes you a joke by itself, and now you've got like weird Asians doing insane math in their heads, and the way that they facilitate it is by doing all sorts of like flappy, spurgy hand motions. It's just too good. Just too good. That earns a lip pillow. Okay, I forgot to put this one in here. Okay, so in the King Pill Discord, we have started watching The Apprentice on Thursday night. We sat and we watched the first 3 episodes from back in 2004, and it is wild, man. I mean, there's the normal reality TV dynamic to it, which I've always found fun. You can sit there and like you look at the strategies they're using, try to figure out what are the parts where the producers are putting their thumb on the scale and which ones aren't. And the reason I'm interested in watching it is because I want to get a look at our president 20 years ago. Start seeing if you can get some glimpses. And I knew that inevitably at some point, once it was announced that they were putting this back out there, I knew we were going to start getting these sorts of clips. That's one of my motivations in watching, and to seeing if I can find the clips first. This one was just, I don't know what season. This isn't from the first season. I don't know what this one's from, but I saw Astounding Trump clip, and I thought it was going to be pretty cool, from Big Gulp American. That's a good name. Lugubrious lunatic. I thought it was going to be a good clip. I was not prepared for just how good it was going to be. This one is an all-timer.
Yes,
what
sir.
was the name of your class?
Sex at work.
And what happened? What went wrong? I mean, it sounds like a pretty good thing to choose.
I don't know any of the context here. Just like the typical format is that it starts off men versus women, and this looks like it's further advanced where they've combined into one team, and they're given a task. They have to go. The very first episode, they have to sell lemonade on the street in New York City. And then they have to like create an advertising campaign, and then there's stuff they have to qualify for, and then the losers end up getting voted off, or they get fired. The team chooses which people they want to go, and then those people, one of them gets fired. So they had some sort of a competition regarding a class or something like that, and his name was it Sex at Work, I think. So that's all of the context. I don't think you're even going to get any more context from the clip, but you're as caught up on it now as you possibly could be.
Adam,
Yes,
what
sir.
was the name of your class?
Sex at work.
And what happened? What went wrong? I mean, it sounds like a pretty good thing to choose. Sex is always very good, right?
Well, I don't think sex is always very good, but I think that this course was a great course.
Clay, he exposed homosexuality as an issue that, to me, it was a bit much for the crowd.
You brought out homosexuality. Are you a homosexual, Clay?
I am. Yes, Mr. Trump, I am.
No, is that true?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But
Marcus, did you know that Clay was gay?
Yes, I did. When we first...
Did everybody know this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Okay.
He let
Because
people
I didn't
know
know
in the
it.
beginning.
So you don't find Olive very attractive then?
No, I mean,
And
she's
you
a
don't find
beautiful woman.
Felicia very attractive?
They're beautiful women, but they're not my thing.
All right. That's why they have menus in restaurants, you know? I like steak, somebody else likes spaghetti. That's why they have menus in restaurants. It's a great world. Adam, let me ask you this question.
Yes,
have
sir.
you ever had sex before?
Honestly, sir, I don't feel comfortable answering that
because
question.
don't you think that you sort of put yourself in a very bad position talking about sex and something that you're just not very familiar with?
I think that I put myself in a difficult situation in the beginning, but I was able to take that difficult situation and make it into an even more productive class and more interesting.
How can you be afraid to talk about sex? Sex is like not a big deal.
And
How can you be afraid?
And I've come a long way throughout this process. In the very beginning, I was extremely uncomfortable with the whole idea of it. But by the end, I bought into it and I understood how important of a subject this is, and I embraced it.
Listen, Adam isn't good with sex. He might be in 10 years, but right now you don't feel comfortable with sex. Do you agree with it?
I agree with you, sir.
You will. Someday you will. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble, Adam. It cost me a lot of money. You understand that?
Yes, sir, I do understand.
You'll probably be there. In many respects, I hope you are. Because there's nothing like it. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right.
My president. Oh man, I would love to see where this guy is today. This one, what do we got? We only have 14,000 views on this one. Yeah, this one needs to take off. And I'd love to see where is this guy at today? I was thinking about that when we were watching the Discord the other night. I wonder where these people are today and how many of them voted for him. How many of them have total TDS now? Because in each season, all but one gets fired by him. So, did the experience with him incline them to actually think all this other stuff about him is bullshit, or he fired me? So, I'd be very interested to see. $2 super chat from Hermetic Hegemony. Thank you, friend. He says, "Wife and I watched season 1. My baby loves Mr. Trumpers. You're raising a good one. You're raising them right, sir." Oh no, H. Reardon, I don't want to think about that. Yeah, Phil, he does look like Michael Knowles. Now, amusingly, related to this, there was a story that I already had when I came across that clip this afternoon. I thought this was funny because there was a story I was already going to talk about today. The Daily Beast, that rag, is doing what these degenerate scum do. They posted this one. They got a new sick story. Oh yeah, man, we got him now. Trump is owned. The new revelations reveal how Trump reportedly offered a female congresswoman his bed as long as she kept it a secret from his wife. There's a community note on it. Well, let's find out. The congresswoman in question, Anna Paulina Luna. She says, "I seldom respond to nasty headlines because I don't like giving trash credibility. However, being that there is allegedly a book coming out with me named and attacking POTUS, his marriage, our first lady, and frankly implying something distasteful about me, I am responding. I was very pregnant and at the time experiencing preeclampsia symptoms, but was not diagnosed. As soon as Trump boarded the plane, being the gentleman and good person that he is, said if I did not feel well, I could use the back room. He did this in a respectful way and in front of my husband, of which we thanked him. He also assured me that they had a medical team on board in case anything happened, and they were aware of how pregnant I was." So here's the actual story. She's getting on the plane, and he says and he says, "Okay, I know that you're very pregnant. You're not feeling well. If you need somewhere to lay down, I will give you the president's bed. You can go lay down, be comfortable. I've already alerted the medical team to how to your situation. They know how pregnant you are. They're on standby." This is like extremely gracious, magnanimous, chivalrous thing to do. She continues, "This was the most compassionate thing that could have been done at the time. I find it disgusting the author fails to recognize that. A few weeks later, I was induced because I did have preeclampsia. The author of this book never reached out to me for comment, which means that this book is likely going to be a shit hit piece. If people in POTUS orbit are talking to this author, they need to be cut off immediately. This is gross." So who is the author? Erky Forster. That doesn't sound like an American name. Erky, a recent UC Berkeley graduate who began his journalism career at the Daily Californian, the university's student newspaper. He has covered San Francisco's Japantown community and reported on national politics and LGBTQ+ issues for the Washington Blade during the 2024 election cycle. So this guy thinks that he's got the scoop of his life, and He does not, in fact. I mean, I guess it depends. When you're dealing with people who are this degenerate and amoral, willing to publish anything salacious because any clicks are good clicks, then yeah, I guess maybe this is a gigantic scoop, and this is going to be how he makes his career. What I want to know is, I would love to be a fly on the wall to see Melania's reaction to this. 'Cause I'm imagining what was the thing they added on it? He offered a female congresswoman his bed as long as she kept it a secret from his wife. So presumably, what he said was, if you need a place to stay, if you're not feeling well, you can go back, you can lay down. Here's my bed to lay down in. And then he said to people who were there, there's a bunch of people around, and he was like, you just don't tell Melania, like, ha ha ha, she doesn't like it when other women sleep in my bed, ha ha ha, which in the moment, that's a funny joke. That's great. Not salacious whatsoever. Unless you're one of these disgusting porn-brained degenerates who has never experienced a man being gracious and chivalrous. This is the man that we're talking about here. Look at what a great shot that is. This little kid is absolutely living the life. And you've got Grandpa President here. Just having a grand old time with his little buddy. Holding his hand. And here you go. Picks him up, sets him down. Very grandfatherly. It's very irritating sometimes to see the people who are spazzing out about this sort of thing, and like it's like Scott Adams' 2 movies thing, where these people are sitting here watching this movie where they've been bludgeoned with so much propaganda that they actually think that this is some narcissistic pervert. And here he is walking with this little boy. This little boy is getting having the best upbringing imaginable. Sitting in with heads of state, just like going around seeing the guts of how everything works, having a grand old time. And the libs are just so completely detached from humanity that they look at this and think it's gross. I think it's amazing. We're seeing like the masculine father figure archetype being reinforced over and over and over and over again. Elon walking around with him, carrying him around through it's like the son following his father around through the court, going to the palace to visit with the king and negotiate on various deals and everything. And the son is right there with his father. These are ancient things, man. $5 from a Thuglican. What a great name. He says, what is it with nobody in these circles learning their lesson regarding based e-girls who immediately start attacking Trump with Groyper talking points? Yes, indeed. I don't have anything about that. I know exactly which subject you're talking about. I guess we're going to address it sort of obliquely. I don't have anything on that particular. It's the Sam Cedar chick. It turns out is running the same arc that all of the based online e-girls do. Now she's recycling Groyper talking points and doing it in a provocative way to farm engagement, and then everyone gets mad, and then everyone says, "Oh, look, there's yet another e-girl," and you kind of run through the same old. However, what she was talking about was immigration. We're going to dedicate the majority of the show today to the subject of immigration. Before that, though, I have discovered, me solely, not a single other person on the internet, has seen this particular, the rare advances are upgrading. They're leveling up. And for the very first time, you guys get to see this extremely rare Vance. This is the party animal rare Vance. Celebrating St. Paddy's Day. I was trying to figure out the one here in the bathroom. Is this like, let's see, right here. Is this, okay, yeah, it's supposed to be Coke. It kind of looks like whatever the prompt was, it got Coke and puking in the, mixed up. Because it looked like reverse puking, but it's actually just snorting an ungodly amount of Coke. There was some baseball player, I think it was a Major League Baseball player, that hit a triple, slid into third base, and then pretended to like snort a line along the foul line. Rare Vance. That is rare Vance snorting raw milk. Yeah. Yeah, the libs don't know how to handle Vance posting. This is, to our great benefit, this is common Vance right here. Kiki's Knees said, holy shit, either he's our guy 100% or his PR team is literally one of you in our group chat. Stand up. Which one of you is Vance?
I really believe that we have a great deal in common with Europe. And I'm not, yes, the Europeans annoy me sometimes, and yes, I disagree with them on certain issues, but we have to remember that is the cradle of Western civilization. The entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America, that was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements, but I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, but Europe is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable to, or unwilling, too many countries to control their borders. You see them starting to push back against that, and good, that's a good thing. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. So look, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty, and America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
That lasts like 10 seconds.
Few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't.
Culturally incompatible with Germany. The cradle of Christian civilization. I got to be completely honest with you guys. I did not expect this soon to have one of the occupants of the White House speaking in these terms.
It doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
It doesn't matter what I think about it. This is just such perfect framing. Just perfect framing. It would be silly for him to come out and just like dump all over Europe. This is the perfect approach to it. Is like, I want you to be the best version of yourself. But you're going to have to step up and put your big boy pants on and do it yourself. The millennial is so uniquely qualified for this. The older millennial to Gen X, who their parents are boomers, and they've been living in this world here. Where it's like, all right, dad, all right, mom, yeah, you have your little boomer truth world that you live in, but we don't live in that world. That world doesn't exist for anyone else. This is the relationship of America to Europe. Europe is like you know, like in the nursing home, walking around on his walker. Oh, we're going to go fight a Nazi. Yes, yes, Grandpa. Yes, Dad. Yes, Dad. Sure you are. It's time for them to pick themselves up. Because the thing is, Europe is going to live beyond the generations of the people who are there now. The question is, what is that Europe going to look like? America is going to look more and more American. Europe is going to look less and less European. And I'm using that look term broadly. It applies in a number of different facets. This is the best possible posture for an American administration right now. To try to speak with endearing terms and try to call the greatness back out of Europe. Because Europe was once great. I'm not European. I'm American. My heritage is European. It's all European. I'm Nordic, Germanic, and Anglo in almost equal quantities. But it's not great anymore. And its trajectory is very, very bad. And the best thing the United States can do is extract itself from the insanity that is the European leadership and do everything possible to wall off that insanity from Canada. Because they're trying to do the same thing to Canada. Canada is greatest when it's Canadian versus European. And ironically, for Canada to stay Canadian, it's going to have to come under the direct auspices of America. That all being said, we have vice presidents to say what he said. We have comedians to say what Theo says. Theo Vaughn explaining why he hates French people.
I just got back from Paris, baby. French, son, and I've never liked the French, I'll be honest with you. If you put 70 French people in front of me, I don't like them. They just, the way they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, no. They just, it sounds like, you just want to just pat them on the fucking back, boy. I just want to spray paint my hand red, white, and blue and pat them bitches on the back and get the fucking truth out of them. What are you trying to say? It sounds like Japanese, but they fucking got they're nasaled out or something. It sounds like somebody hit a bunch of cotton in a Japanese dude. God, dude. You just can't get it. Sounds like somebody just ejacking out into the just somebody just got stuck ejaculating, you know? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh man, Theo, we are so blessed to have Theo and and Tim Dillon. Okay, let's talk about little Conor McGregor. The Irishman. He's rising. So this is a funny little interaction. I couldn't quite figure out the exact context here, but it looked like this sort of, like, they got the C-SPAN camera on here. It looks like they're preparing for a press conference, but then they sort of act like they're surprised. And then there's like this weird, awkward thing where Conor keeps stepping up to the podium and talking at the podium, even though I don't think the mics are on. And they're just like catching the ambient sound in the room. But I've got I think 2 clips of him here. Yeah, 2 clips. And look at he's clearly out of his depth. But there is some heart behind what he's saying.
Yeah.
America needs to hear.
Yeah.
America needs to hear.
Definitely.
Hey, Connor.
Oh. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Connor, first of all, did you get into some time with President Trump? And also, I know there's some Irish immigrants in the U.S. without status. What do you think should happen to them?
The Irish immigrants?
There's some Irish immigrants, some recent Irish immigrants without legal status.
Are we taking questions?
Taking over the podium.
Ireland and America, we are siblings. We consider America our big sibling. So it's important for Ireland to have be a peaceful, happy, prosperous country for the 40 million Irish Americans to have a place to visit, to come back to their home. So we wish for our relationship with the United States to continue, and we wish to be taken care of by the big bro. You know, the United States should look after its little bro, and that's how we feel with Ireland and America.
This right here, the Europeans don't want to hear it, but this is the posture that every European nation needs to have toward the United States. Every European nation is in the position of little bro, and the United States is big bro. This is the posture, the proper posture they need to have. And if they have this posture, then they can get just about anything that they want. But there's deep national pride, deep ancient pride in Europe. They still see the Americans as we're the immature, improper Yankees. So it takes an Irishman to recognize it and to be humble enough to see that being some tiny little country that is being turned into a shithole is not going to and then trying to talk major shit and act like you get to dictate anything in the terms of this relationship. It's like, oh, that's very cute. No, this is the way that you need to relate to the United States because of simple geographic and economic realities. $2 super chat from Hermetic Gemini says, Germans are as foundational as Anglos in America. Indeed. Very much so. This is a subject, again, I'm going to come back to at some point here to discuss, because I don't think that this is going to get people all riled up. I'll give you a tease now so everyone can get mad. I don't think it's really proper to say that America is Anglo. I don't think that this is an Anglo nation. I don't think it has ever been, and I definitely don't think it is now. But I'll elaborate on that at a later point.
What about, there's some trade disputes between the U.S. and the EU, and what do you think?
We wish exemption.
We actually have some stuff that we have to do right now.
Connor is here to meet with the president. He'll be meeting with him later this afternoon. We couldn't think of a better guest to have with us on St. Patrick's Day. We're both wearing our green. This was not planned, but very festive. And as you know, I'll be having a briefing later at 1 o'clock, so we'll talk more about their meeting later. But he's going over.
There's the professional talker. She's like, all right, let me take control of the situation here.
Over to meet with some other administration officials. He's spending the day in Washington, D.C.
For sure.
So
I'm here to raise the issues that people of Ireland face. Yes. You know, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears, because never on the main stage has the issues the people of Ireland face been spoke. You know, our government has long since abandoned the voices of the people of Ireland. And it's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is the government of zero action with zero accountability. You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit.
Now, isn't it interesting that they just had the Irish leadership in town last week? It was very cordial, had a grand old time, and then they have Conor. Then they bring Conor in, and the first thing he does is come in and say, nobody is speaking for the Irish people. Our government has long since stopped speaking for us. They're covering up all of the things that are being done to us, and they're participating in it. Very interesting optics here. And there's a pattern that's kind of developing here as they're they're playing footsie, more or less, to greater or lesser degrees, with all of these, in all of these different European countries. There's the opposition, the sort of populist uprising that starts centering around certain people or certain parties, and they're amplifying them. They're very clearly, intentionally amplifying them to a greater or lesser degree. So that's like the context, I think, here for this Conor McGregor visit. I got another clip from him, but before that, here's this thought from TurboThad on Twitter, which I wholeheartedly agree with. There's these pictures from Conor visiting with Trump. You know, they had a grand old time together. I love how Trump's got all of his pens right here. He's ready to... You show up and you fuck around, he's going to sign an executive order on your ass. And he's still got the he's still got the Gulf of America poster behind him. Look at that beautiful family. The bright green. The green suit is real sharp. You can kind of hear Conor sounds like he's a little out of breath. I think his physical changes are not a natural, organic thing. But so here's Grandpa Trump hanging out with the kids again. TurboThad says, conservative fighters. Hey, y'all, check out my appearance on this Black Rifle Coffee podcast. Also, we need to be colorblind. Conor, Zog is destroying my blood nation by filling it with disgusting foreigners. I'm going to directly petition the President of the United States for help at the Oval Office. If you counter-signal Conor, fuck you. Hear, hear. Raig Nationalist shared this. He says, watch this video of Conor McGregor. Feel the anger. Feel the intensity. See that look in his eyes. He really means it.
Every available metric available to us has shown that the government of Ireland currently has failed the people of Ireland. In 10 years, Dublin city centre has gone from one of the most safest cities in Europe to one of the most dangerous. So shame on him for saying that, speaking down on an Irishman. I won't speak about him personally. Throw a jab, I could throw many jabs at them. I could throw jabs handily at them. However, I speak on the metrics, and the metrics show they've failed the people of Ireland. They do not represent the people of Ireland.
Conor,
and I'm
what
here.
do you say to people who feel it's inappropriate for you to be here, given...
God bless Ireland, God bless America.
Hell yes!
Every available...
I don't know at all what he was talking about. I scrolled through the comments on my phone and didn't see any... oh yeah, here we go. So is he talking about the... what was it? Toshuk? I think he's talking about the Toshuk. See if anybody else weighs in. I couldn't find any comments on it when I looked at this earlier. Yeah, I guess maybe he's speaking directly to the Toshuk. But this sort of spirit, this is the spirit that is going to take countries back. I don't care if this is a LARP. I don't care if it's just an act out of him. This is the sort of thing that's going to start cultivating that spirit, and it's going to center around characters like him. This is similar to the Andrew Tate running for Prime Minister of Britain. These sorts of guys are going to start being elevated more and more. Because think about who the millennial and Zoomer generations, who have been the people who are the most like famous public figures that they watch and identify with the most. It's podcasters, it's wrestlers, it's sports figures. Those are the people who they connect with and identify with the most. There's very little like scientists or dignitaries or politicians that anybody identifies with anymore. There were people in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. There was plenty of politicians that people were very enamored of, but not so much anymore. Trump has kind of killed that. Nobody can be like a likable public figure, politician sort of person after Trump. He's changed what a politician is. So increasingly, these like the influencers, the celebrities, like they're going to wind up starting to capture this sort of political fervor, and we're going to see more of them getting involved in politics in this way, not less. And that means the mindset of the people who are getting into politics is changing. These are not managerialists anymore. They may be people who've lived in that world, but they're not beholden to it. We're going to get a much more pragmatic politics, much more populist. I agree with Ninja of Spades here. He says that was an impromptu, you want to say the real deal on a oopsie hot mic moment? I think that's exactly what it was. Which tells me, further, that this is intentional. Bringing Conor in. This isn't just like Conor asked for an audience. They are making hay out of this moment. And it's immediately on the heels of them entertaining the Taoiseach. The formal, so we've got the formal Irish government, and now we have the informal, the formal representatives of the Irish government. Now we've got the informal representatives of the Irish people. And I think the emphasis on Ireland probably has to do with the fact that Ireland is a major tax haven. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some trucking here. There was a story that hit a little too close to home. Before I get to that, though, here's this. So this is from Wall Street Apes. English checks have begun. This is a truck driver in Arkansas at a weigh station.
Couldn't believe it. Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. Got stopped at the weigh station in Arkansas and was handed a piece of paper. And it says, "Can you read and write English?" I said, "Yes, sir, I sure can." He goes, "Can you read this?" So I read it to myself, and I was like, okay, I started handing it back. He goes, no, read it out loud for me. So I read it out loud for him, and, it's short and sweet, no problem. He goes, "Now, can you write this for me on this paper?" And I did, and there was a whole bunch of people that had already written on it. And I was actually witnessing people in handcuffs that had been pulled in, and I was like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, we've come across now that if you cannot read or write in English, that it's a $5,000 fine, and if you have a company in Arkansas that employs people that can't read or write in English, it's a $10,000 fine paid on the spot. If you cannot pay it, you're automatically arrested and lose your license." What a shocker.
So the readers added the community note here. According to federal law, commercial driver's license holders must be able to speak and understand English. The specific code states that a CDL driver must be able to speak and read English and understand highway traffic signs and signals in English. So this is merely the enforcement of existing statutes. But things are happening. Now, I don't really expect anybody who's watching this show to need to have this sort of an objection. But if there happened to be someone out there who thought, "Hey, that's kind of harsh," it's one thing to fine the company, but if you're going to fine the man himself or you're going to arrest him just for not being able to speak English, that's a little harsh, maybe. No, it's definitely not, because this is the sort of thing that this is preventing. This happened just north of Austin a few days ago, in a stretch of highway that I've driven through many times. This is probably 2 hours or so, hour and a half, 2 hours from my house. I've driven through this many times. This is a difficult stretch. It's a narrow stretch of highway with there's like no shoulders, and it's Texas. It's an interstate in Texas. People are freaking flying through there. This is at night. There's often big backups through this stretch of highway, and this driver, just plowed right into standing traffic.
It's him. It's you, bro? The fuck, man? What? What happened?
Well, I'm coming and somebody is left you and I put here. So.
But the traffic was there, bro. Like, there's no way you should have been. I'm a trucker myself, bro. Yeah, you're not supposed to. You were going too fast. There's 2 people dead over there, and possibly 2 more, possibly 4. They're dead.
Dead?
They're dead.
Dead?
Yes, dead.
Oh my goodness.
They're fucking dead, bro. Because of your stupid ass shit. 2 of them are fucking dead, bro. And I don't know about the rest.
Huh?
I don't know about the rest, but 2 for sure. 2 for sure.
Okay, well, I'm calling.
Who are you calling?
I'm calling. I'm calling.
Bro, they finna lock your ass up.
Huh?
They finna lock your ass up. They're gonna lock you up.
I'm lucky?
They're gonna lock you up. Lock you up. Put you in handcuffs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're gonna lock you up. That's manslaughter, bro. They're fucking dead. Subhanallah.
An 18-wheeler driver was arrested and is facing intoxication charges after a North Austin crash that took 5 lives, 3 adults, 1 child, and 1 infant. 12 others were injured. Solomon Weldekil Araya, age 37, is facing 5 charges of intoxication manslaughter, 1 for each of the people killed. He's also facing 2 charges of intoxication assault. He's been booked into the Travis County Jail. There's a video in the thread that may be sensitive for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. I think it's that same dude walking around. I'm not going to play this video. I don't know if YouTube would allow me to play this video because you definitely see 1 dead person in it. And it's just dozens of cars just got obliterated, completely ravaged. One car there, the engine's just revving, and they're trying to get the hood pried away so they can pull the battery off. It'll be on the, if you want to go see it, Kingpilled Substack. It's the second tweet in this this thread. But there's a horn that's just stuck on. They're trying to get rid of it. And this dude's a hero. The dude walking around helping out. Grabs a fire extinguisher, is putting stuff out. So Sarah Fields, at Sarah is Censored, is the one putting this thread together, and she included this. She said, if this memorandum had never been sent out in 2016, would this man even be driving? This is from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, dated 2016, June 15, from the Associate Administrator for Enforcement to all FMCSA staff. This policy memorandum provides guidance to FMCSA personnel conducting safety investigations, audits, and inspections of commercial motor vehicles and drivers using the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance's North American inspection standards. This policy removes the requirement to place drivers out of service for English language proficiency violations and changes the agency's standard for determining noncompliance with the ELP requirements at this code based on direction from the Office of the Secretary and U.S. Department of Justice. This policy memorandum supersedes the policy memoranda issued on the subject title, yada, yada, yada. So, June of 2016, they are no longer required to place drivers out of service for violating the English language proficiency guidelines. He was hauling a load for Amazon at the time of the crash. Amazon provided the following statement clarifying that long-haul drivers are independent contractors, not Amazon employees. Quote, this is a horrible tragedy and our thoughts are with all those involved. We're looking into this further and will cooperate with all investigations. The National Transportation Safety Board has opened a safety investigation into the crash. According to a newly released affidavit, a preliminary breathalyzer exam showed Araya had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.00. However, he still showed all 6 signs of intoxication and failed a field sobriety exam. Authorities are waiting on a toxicology report. And then, an update. According to a reliable internal source, the Solomon Weldekil Araya, an 18-wheeler driver who was arrested and is facing intoxication charges after a North Austin crash that claimed 5 lives, was a contract driver on a work visa. He was transporting items from an out-of-state warehouse. He is not a Texas resident, and his CDL was not issued by Texas. According to the source, he comes from a sanctuary state that granted asylum to individuals who entered illegally and provided him with a provisional visa through work status. DUI by means of sleep deprivation is what's listed until toxicology comes back. I've submitted multiple FOIA requests to the PD and the DOT and also sent a request for information to ZBN Transport. My guess is, could have been California, could have been Illinois, if he's coming down from the north. This is why. If you can't speak English, you can't read or write English, this is why you get arrested and removed from that position. If you're going to be responsible for carrying, like, not being able to speak English is like a proxy for the type of person who's more inclined to have something like this happen. I guarantee you he was on his phone. And if he can't speak English, can't read English, then he's not going to notice like signs indicating work coming up, and like he's not going to be equipped to navigate that sort of situation. Shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. Shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. Definitely shouldn't have been driving. And then apparently they're saying sleep deprivation. So he was so sleep deprived that he exhibited all 6 signs of intoxication, despite not having anything in his system. And that could have been like the signs of intoxication could have also had something to do with his inability to communicate and to understand what they're talking about. This is why they get arrested, and they should get arrested. These people should not be in our country, and they absolutely should not be responsible for critical infrastructure like trucking. Politically Catholic says, if you can't say no to your boss because your visa depends on you taking 13-hour shifts, then you shouldn't be allowed to work here. Yeah, that's another part of it. That's probably why he was so sleep deprived. This is one of the issues with the H-1B thing. It's such a terrible network of incentives. Because now you get people, like the dude may have been like, he could have been completely fine. No, like, a upstanding man, children, whatever. He's just working hard. But because he's here on a visa, on a work visa, that can be revoked at any time, then he's I just got to keep working. I'm not going to stop and sleep because I got a time crunch or whatever. Yeah, the boss should absolutely be arrested. And Amazon should be prosecuted for it. These are the sorts of things. This is how you begin inducing self-deportations, is you start going after the companies for hiring these people, for employing them, and frankly, for abusing them. We're Christians here. Just because these people shouldn't be in the country, and on top of them not being in the country, one of the reasons for that is because they get brought over here and essentially treated like slaves. You have to do unreasonable things like drive sleep deprived because otherwise we're gonna revoke your visa. Fortunately, we have the president that we do. As of Saturday, this is a very interesting story. So as of Saturday, the president, an official proclamation, invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. The Alien Enemies Act was written by John Adams. This is from the 1790s. By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Tren de Aragua, or TDA, is a designated foreign terrorist organization with thousands of members, many of whom have unlawfully infiltrated the United States and are conducting irregular warfare and undertaking hostile actions against the United States. TDA operates in conjunction with Cartel de los Soles, the Nicolas Maduro regime-sponsored narco-terrorism enterprise based in Venezuela, and commits brutal crimes including murders, kidnappings, extortions, and human drug and weapons trafficking. TDA is engaged in and continues to engage in mass illegal migration to the United States to further its objectives of harming United States citizens, undermining public safety, and supporting the Maduro regime's goal of destabilizing democratic nations in the Americas, including the United States. TDA is closely aligned with and indeed has infiltrated the Maduro regime, including its military and law enforcement apparatus. TDA grew significantly while Tarek el-Aissami served as governor of Aragua between 2012 and 2017. So laying out the background for all of this, over the years, Venezuelan national and local authorities have ceded ever greater control over their territories to transnational criminal organizations, including TDA. The result is a hybrid criminal state that is perpetrating an invasion of and predatory incursion into the United States, and which poses a substantial danger to the United States. Indeed, in December 2024, Interpol Washington confirmed Tren de Aragua has emerged as a significant threat to the United States as it infiltrates migration flows from Venezuela. Interpol, that's basically like Daily Stormer, right? Evidence irrefutably demonstrates that TDA has invaded the United States and continues to continues to invade, attempt to invade, and threaten to invade the country, perpetuate irregular warfare within the country, and use drug trafficking as a weapon against our citizens. Based upon a review of TDA's activities and in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of the Treasury, on February 20, 2025, acting pursuant to the authority in 8 U.S. Code 1189, the Secretary of State designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization. Now remember, we talked about that here. We talked about how this designation is a big deal because it opens up all sorts of different potential powers and levers of enforcement. Well, this is one of them. As President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief, it is my solemn duty to protect the American people from the devastating effects of this invasion. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by the authority invested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Alien Enemies Act, hereby proclaim and direct as follows. Section 1, I find and declare that TDA is perpetrating, attempting, and threatening an invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States. More on these details here in a few moments. TDA is undertaking hostile actions and conducting irregular warfare against the territory of the United States, both directly and at the direction, clandestine or otherwise, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. Notice all of the precedents that are being established here and appealed to, the legal foundation being established. I make these findings using the full extent of my authority to conduct the nation's foreign affairs under the Constitution. Remember, the thing we talked about last week, there was that little known thing that Huntsman on Twitter highlighted, where Marco Rubio had that. I can't remember what sort of declaration it was, but basically saying that all of these, basically anything that's crossing the border, whether it's things, goods, money, people, crossing the border under any circumstances, this falls under the Secretary of State's purview. There's a process that's being worked through here that's very clear. We'll get into more of that here in just a minute. So this is being designated part of the nation's foreign affairs. Based on these findings, and by the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including 50 U.S.C. 21, I proclaim that all Venezuelan citizens 14 years of age or older who are members of TDA are within the United States and are not actually naturalized or lawful permanent residents of the United States are liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. I further find and declare that all such members of TDA are, by virtue of their membership in that organization, chargeable with actual hostility against the United States and are therefore ineligible for the benefits of 50 U.S.C. 22. I further find and declare that all such members of TDA are a danger to the public peace or safety of the United States. Section 2, I direct the Attorney General within 60 days of the date of this proclamation to prepare and publish a letter under her signature declaring the policy described in Section 1 of this proclamation as the policy of the United States and attaching this proclamation. I direct the Attorney General to transmit this letter to the Chief Justice of the United States, the Chief Judge of every Circuit Court of Appeals, the Chief Judge of every District and Territorial Court of the United States, each Governor of a state and territory of the United States, and the highest-ranking judicial officer of each state and territory of the United States. This is now the law. It has been laid down directly. And every single relevant person is going to be alerted of it personally by the Attorney General. Section 3, I direct that all alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation are subject to immediate apprehension, detention, and removal, and further that they shall not be permitted residence in the United States. Section 4, pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall, consistent with applicable law, apprehend, restrain, secure, and remove every alien enemy described in Section 1 of this proclamation. The Secretary of Homeland Security retains discretion to apprehend and remove any alien enemy under any separate authority. Section 5, all executive departments and agencies shall collaborate with law enforcement officials of the United States and with appropriate state, local, and tribal officials to use all lawful means to apprehend, restrain, secure, and remove alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation, covering every single legal basis here. Section 6, pursuant to my authority under 50 U.S.C. 21 to direct the conduct to be observed on the part of the United States toward the alien enemy subject to this proclamation, to direct the manner and degree of the restraint to which such aliens shall be subject and in what cases, to provide for the removal of such alien enemies, and to establish any other regulations which are found necessary, quote, in the premises and for the public safety, I hereby direct the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security to execute all the regulations here, to execute all of the illegal immigrants, to execute all the regulations hereinafter contained regarding the alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security are further directed to cause the apprehension, detention, and removal of all members of TDA who otherwise qualify as alien enemies under Section 1 of this proclamation. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security are authorized to take all necessary actions under the Alien Enemies Act to effectuate this proclamation consistent with applicable law. In doing so, and for such purpose, they are authorized to utilize agents, agencies, and officers of the United States government and of the several states, territories, dependencies, and municipalities thereof, and of the District of Columbia. All such agents, agencies, and officers are hereby granted full authority for all acts done by them in the execution of such regulations when acting by the direction of the Attorney General or the Secretary of Homeland Security, as the case may be. Pursuant to the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Alien Enemies Act, I hereby declare and establish the following regulations which I find necessary in the premises and for the public safety. A. No alien enemy described in Section 1 of this proclamation shall enter, attempt to enter, or be found within any territory subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Any such alien enemy who enters, attempts to enter, or is found within such territory shall be immediately apprehended and detained until removed from the United States. All such alien enemies, wherever found within any territory subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, are subject to summary apprehension. B. Alien enemies apprehended pursuant to this proclamation shall be subject to detention until removed from the United States in such place of detention as may be directed by the officers responsible for the execution of these regulations. C. Alien enemies shall be subject to removal to any such location as may be directed by the officers responsible for the execution of these regulations consistent with applicable law. D. All property in the possession of or traceable to an alien enemy which is used, intended to be used, or is commonly used to perpetrate the hostile activity and irregular warfare of TDA, along with evidence of such hostile activity and irregular warfare, shall be subject to seizure and forfeiture. The Attorney General is further granted authority pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act of 3 U.S.C. 301, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security, to issue any guidance necessary to effectuate the prompt apprehension, detention, and removal of all alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation. Any such guidance shall be effective immediately upon issuance by the Attorney General. This proclamation and the directives and regulations prescribed herein shall extend and apply to all land and water, continental or insular, in any way within the jurisdiction of the United States. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand, this 14th day of March, in the year of our Lord 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 249th. Huh? Sorry, I had to read that whole thing. I was just busting out the buttons on my pants. Yeah, Slutty Milk says, stop, my Trumps hurts. Where are my Trumps at? Let's see some Trumps in the chat. Oh, man. Okay. So, it was interesting. I saw some details going on about this over the weekend and was bookmarking a few relevant stories. And then this afternoon, I was going and looking for when this proclamation was sent out on Twitter, because I'm trying to find the beginning, the start of the thread here. So I go out, I'm looking for this proclamation. I check Trump's account, I check the Team Trump account, I check the Trump War Room account. I checked all of these. And I'm like, interesting. It's not posted anywhere there. Well, there was a reason for that. So this from Axios. Exclusive. The White House says it ignored a court order to turn around 2 plane loads of alleged Venezuelan gang members because the flights were over international waters and therefore the ruling didn't apply, 2 senior officials tell Mark Caputo. So, Why it matters. The administration's decision to defy a federal judge's order is exceedingly rare and highly controversial. I'm not going to read what Mark Zaid wrote. The White House welcomes this fight. This is headed to the Supreme Court, and we're going to win, a senior White House official told Axios. I'll betcha, this was Stephen Miller himself. A second administration official said Trump was not defying the judge whose ruling came too late for the planes to change course. Very important that people understand we are not actively defying court orders. So this judge, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, issued an order that blocked the president from deporting about 250 alleged Tren de Aragua gang members under the Alien Enemies Act of 1789. So this was the order that was used by FDR to establish the Japanese internment camps. It's been used 3 times before. It's a wartime law. Gives the executive extreme immense power to deport non-citizens without a judicial hearing. It's like if we've put enough adjectives in here, then people will understand how upset we are about it. But it has been little used, particularly in peacetime. What this judge did, so they issue this proclamation, but they didn't publicly issue it. They just posted it. They didn't shout it out. They didn't let everybody know about it. They just posted it. Just put it up there. And then people were like, hey, what's this? Hey, hold on. What's going on? And then this judge issued an emergency temporary restraining order and said those planes full of TDA members that already took off, you need to tell them to turn around and come back. They need to be brought, these terrorists that are being taken out of the country, they need to be brought back to the country. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller orchestrated the process in the West Wing in tandem with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Few outside their teams knew what was happening. They didn't actually set out to defy a court order. Quote, we wanted them on the ground first before a judge could get the case, but this is how it worked out. The timeline. The president signed the executive order invoking the Alien Enemies Act on Friday night, but intentionally did not advertise it. On Saturday morning, word of the order leaked, officials said, prompting a mad scramble to get planes in the air. At 2:31 p.m. Saturday, an immigration activist who tracks deportation flights posted on X that, quote, 2 highly unusual ICE flights were departing from Texas to El Salvador, which had agreed to accept Venezuelan gang members deported from the U.S. Hours later, during a court hearing filed by none other than the ACLU, Boasberg ordered ordered a halt to the deportations and said any flights should be turned around mid-air. This is something you need to make sure is complied with immediately, he told the Justice Department, according to the Washington Post. At that point, about 6:51 p.m., both flights were off the Yucatan Peninsula, according to flight paths posted on X. Inside the White House, officials discussed whether to order the planes to turn around. On advice from a team of administration lawyers, the administration pressed ahead. A senior official said there was a discussion about how far the judge's ruling can go under the circumstances and over international waters, and on advice of counsel, we proceeded with deporting these thugs. They were already outside of U.S. airspace. We believe the order is not applicable, a second senior administration official told Axios. The Trump administration was already spoiling for a fight over the Alien Enemies Act. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so we'll keep moving forward here. So then this dropped. New York Post said Fed judge orders deportation flights carrying alleged Venezuelan gangbangers to return to U.S., blocks Trump from invoking Alien Enemies Act. And Bukele tweeted, oopsie, too late. And they are very mad about this. Because not only did he tweet that with a crying, laughing emoji, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio retweeted it. So now the court is very upset about them making a mockery of the court or whatever. But I'll give you a video here in just a minute of them actually being sent there. But here, Josiah Lippincott says, remember during the campaign, Trump kept attacking El Salvador for its immigration policy and online dissidents were blackpilling. No, Bukele is based. Why is Trump attacking him? It's so over. Trump's ego is too big. He can't share the stage. Trump betrayed us. Then Trump wins, all is made well, and Bukele is now facilitating deportations and teabagging libtarded judges on social media. Don't listen to stupid people. I must admit, it's a tough burden that I bear for you guys. But all of this being right all the time is very, very gratifying. I told you guys exactly that this is what was happening. Everyone was like, oh! Mostly the DeSantoids. There's a theme that's happening here. The same category of people. There's this weird crossover between the Groiper tards and the DeSantoids who are constantly blackpilling over this stuff, over every little thing. And it just takes a little bit of time to go by and they get revealed as just being morons over and over and over and over again. So I know everybody's been very upset. We talked about the little e-thought chick who's complaining about the deportations not being sufficient yet. But this was announced today, and I'm going to go over something here in a little bit about, I got so much to try to get through, and I had to put this in some sort of an order. Breaking, ICE just sent out over 700,000 deportation warrants for illegals. Huh. Very interesting. So it's almost like there were things that were in the works, and the fact that the deportation numbers weren't as high as you want them to be, maybe there was some logistical reasons for that. I've been reliably told that that they don't actually care, that this is just a show. And they're not actually invested in getting these people out of the country, that they just want to pacify us so they can, I don't know, do whatever the Likud party wants them to do. Well, your vice president has something to say to you.
Well, first of all, we have to do this sequentially, Laura. So what the president said on the campaign is the very first and most important thing is to secure the borders. You know, we have 20 million, maybe more illegal aliens in this country right now. We have to stop that number from growing. And by the way, in 6 weeks, we've almost accomplished complete border security. You've had places that had 1,500 illegal encounters a day. Now they're at 30 illegal encounters a day. We've cut illegal border crossings by well over 95%. And frankly, I think those numbers are going to continue to come down. So once you get operative control of the border, now you have to ramp up deportations. And Laura, this is another area where Joe Biden has left us with a hole that we have to dig out of. You have immigration detention facilities that were underfunded. You have ICE, which does most of the actual deportations, that was radically underfunded, really sort of in some ways destroyed by the Biden administration. We're building that capacity up. I do think that you're going to see those deportation numbers rise. And again, the president every single day in private and in public is asking, how do we get those deportation numbers?
Yeah, he wants them up. He's impatient. He's like I am. He's very impatient.
It's good to have a leader who's impatient to get things done, because it has all of us in his government actually asking ourselves what we can do.
48 indeed. Look at all the 48s in the chat. Mass deportations are coming, boys. So before I play you guys the absolute keynote of the El Salvador deportations, of the guys getting off the plane, we need to have a celebration of the man, the myth, the legend, the Giga Jew. Look at him. Look at his face. You guys ready for this? This is so much fun. This is a 10-minute clip. It is worth every single second of it. This man was made for this. Geiger Capital said, Stephen Miller has spent the last 4 years researching exactly how this would go down. He's been sitting at his desk reading 18th century laws and forgotten Supreme Court cases until 2 a.m. under the light of a lone burning candle. CNN anchors are not prepared for this. Giga Jew, ready for deployment. Here we go.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court?
This doofy bimbo is so incredibly out of her depth in this, and it's delightful to watch.
Court orders that meet the criteria you laid out?
the President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the President the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
So, Stephen, when you say that this person has no authority at all, this is how our system works. It starts with these judges and then continues up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment? And I fail to see how there's any other way but to start with where we're starting here before you get to eventually the Supreme Court.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article II powers to defend the country against an invasion or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article II powers as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority.
You could tell this woman is not smart. She's got a producer in her ear right now who is like, yeah, did you say something? Get in there. Interrupt him. Just do a complete like pattern interrupt. Just hit him with a stupid question. Is Venezuela at war with us right now?
Commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen, my question. If you could answer my question first.
In other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that would apply this way?
So I'll answer your.
She really thinks she's got something here. Like she thinks she's pinned him. Oh, I've got him now. He said that he's talking about an invasion. Oh yeah, let's talk about. Is Venezuela at war with us right now?
And you'll answer mine. Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory incursion that is directed by a foreign
state
government.
or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
This would be. Yes, it is documented that TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point. Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one or the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy? The president and the president alone makes a decision of what triggers that determination.
So do you then think we are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation state of Venezuela?
You're not hearing me and you're not understanding me. Read the statute. Alien Enemies Act. 1798. It says if a predatory incursion is perpetrated by a foreign government. So it lists three qualifying actions. It could be an act of war.
It does say in the very beginning there has to be a declared war against a nation or a state. That's what it says.
No. Wrong. Look up the statute. It's on my account on social media.
That's actually where we found it earlier.
Yes. It says or a.
I gotta hear that again.
State. That's what it says.
No. Wrong. Look up the statute. It's on my account on social media.
That's actually where we found it.
Yes. It says or a predatory incursion or an invasion. The statute delineates three criteria for triggering the Alien Enemies Act. One is an act of war, which, by the way, an invasion is an act of war, but put that aside. One is an invasion, which this is. One is a predatory incursion, which this is. So it actually meets all three statutory criteria. But with respect to this particular statute, the proclamation is utilizing the incursion and invasion language in the statute. But this is a very important question because no, hold on. It's a very important question. You said the way our system works is the President of the United States commands the armed forces of the country, commands the foreign policy of the country, and that's subject to district court review. That is fundamentally untrue.
I never said that, Stephen. I did not say.
That has never been true.
This was not a military operation.
A district court judge can no more enjoin the expulsion of foreign terrorists to foreign soil that he can direct the movement of Air Force One, that he can direct the movement of an aircraft carrier, that he can direct Marco Rubio to engage in diplomacy in a country or not.
Do you think the Supreme Court has any say over this or not? Like if.
Okay. Hold on. I gotta catch up on these super chats. You guys are going fast. $5 from Orthuglican again. He says, I'm a trucker and on a route to Chicago. I almost had some African and another semi almost run me off the road on I-80. These people don't belong here. Dude, stay safe out there. Hopefully you're I appreciate the super chat. Hopefully you're not sending the super chat while you're dodging Africans on the highway. And then $100 from Duffhead. Thank you, my friend. He says, real king pilled vindicated again. That deserves some dings. The shekels raining in. From friend of the show, Duffhead. Duffy with the Trumps. Oh, man. FB informant, he says, we care about declaring war now. Right, yeah, when was the last time that we had a conversation about engaging in military operations without declaring war? Oh, man. Gigajew powering up. You can see that this is like getting into the nuances of the law. He's like, no, okay, check it out. You got this phrase, and this phrase, and this phrase. There's 3 qualifying phrases, and it actually meets all of them, but this particular the dude is in his element, parsing the nuances of legal language to extract a legal justification for his Fantaführer. Oh, man. I'm so glad we've got him.
Does the Supreme Court of the United States have any say over the things that you were just outlining right here?
I believe what the Supreme Court will say is what I just said, which is that the president's conduct here is not subject to judicial review.
Okay, but you are acknowledging that they do, in fact, have a say here, even though you think they may agree with you.
What we are expecting is the Supreme Court to say what has always been the case, which is when the president is using his powers as commander-in-chief, those determinations are not subject to judicial review. In other words, the president's designation of Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization and as an alien enemy are part of his inherent plenary. There is no way.
At what point?
Connection lost. Oh. Come back. You guys back? Am I alone here? It said reconnecting. I haven't seen comments. But back. Okay, good. You guys are back. Do you think she even knows what plenary means? I'm sure she doesn't. She clearly was not. I spent 10 minutes researching this to understand the actual legal basis of what was happening here, and understood it very, very quickly. She clearly has no basis for anything above literally the headline conversation. She doesn't have any. You think if you're going to be an anchor who's going to interview a lawyer about a legally thorny issue and separation of powers and all these sorts of things, you'd have at least a remedial understanding of this kind of thing. But he says, justiciable. He drops justiciable on her. Plenary. She has zero clue what's happening right now. I think she's probably turned on a little.
There is no way.
At what point in the system, Stephen,
how are you going to expel? Hold on. How are you going to expel illegal alien invaders from our country who are raping little girls, who are murdering little girls, if each and every deportation has to be adjudicated in a district court judge? That means you have no country. It means you have no sovereignty. It means you have no future.
Sovereignty!
It is fundamentally incompatible to have a country and have individual expulsions adjudicated by a single district court judge.
I'm just trying to figure out at what point in the system do you, because what does the Trump administration believe? Because we do have separation of powers in this country. I hear what you're saying.
Yes,
you're saying the
separation of
district
powers.
court does
This
not
is the
have
judiciary
authority.
interfering
Stephen, let me
in
finish.
the executive function. That is the separation of power. That is the separation
Did you
of power.
ignore the judge's order here because you thought you could?
So the judge's order and the actions taken by the Departments of Defense, Justice, and Homeland Security are not in conflict. And the Department of Justice has been clear that they are not in conflict. But
So you think that you did go along with the order that the judge put out? You do not think that the Trump administration defied this order?
As the Justice Department said, there is no conflict between the judge's order and the actions taken by the departments I just listed. But I'm making a deeper and more fundamental point.
Yeah.
The district
so,
court
yeah, I mean, if you
has
don't have
no
to follow
ability.
it, why didn't you?
The district court has no ability to in any way restrain the president's authorities under the Alien Enemies Act or his ability to conduct the foreign affairs of the United States. Let me paint a picture for you. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had engaged in intensive diplomacy to obtain a bilateral security agreement with the nation of El Salvador. If a district court judge can enjoin that bilateral security agreement, then we do not have a democracy.
Stephen, you've made your argument.
We do not have a foreign policy.
We've heard you say this. Did you ignore, did the administration ignore the order from the district judge? It's a simple question.
I've answered it. I've answered it because the Department of Justice has made a filing in the court. But let me make another point. The judge, in this case, put the lives of every single person on those aircraft at risk. Did he know how much fuel was in those planes? Did he know the flight conditions? Did he know the weather conditions? Did he know how many crew hours? Did he know the need for crew rest? Did he know any of that? No. This judge violated the law. He violated the Constitution.
Get her
ass! The system of government that we have in this country.
Because that does seem to be what you're arguing.
These same district court judges didn't do a damn thing to stop Joe Biden from flooding this nation with millions of illegal aliens. Do these district court judges didn't issue any injunctions to save the lives of Jocelyn Hungary or Laken Riley or anyone
the federal
else?
Courts. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that what you said, there's a separation of powers. The judiciary exercises judgment and relief.
I don't speak for the White House. You are here to speak
I will
for
do.
You're here to speak for the White House.
I
just want you to answer that one simple question.
I am. Ready? Here we go. Under a proper reading of the Constitution, district court judges provide relief to individual plaintiffs seeking relief. District court judges do not have the authority, as a general matter, to enjoin the functioning of the executive branch. But their authority is at its lowest point when the president is exercising his powers as commander-in-chief. And I asked you a question, you never answered it. Can a judge enjoin troop movements overseas? Can a district court judge enjoin troop movements overseas?
Stephen,
yes or no?
I am not going to get into the...
She does not understand the question he's asking. You can tell. So her motivation, which she's been, and I'm not granting her the capacity to think of this herself. What she's been instructed to do is to try to get one of the people from the administration, especially someone as prominent and influential as Stephen Miller, on the record saying, yes, we ignored the judge's orders. Because then that's something that can actually be used in the court. And yes, the administration needs to be willing to ignore court orders, which they're very obviously going to extreme great lengths to make sure they have a justification to be able to functionally ignore the orders that are like literally everything a judge says. No, like they're obviously figuring out, okay, how can we do this so that we can ignore it because that's what we want to do, without just coming out and saying, we're just going to ignore what judges say when they disagree with us. Because that would cause them actual issues. And with the Supreme Court is not going to look fondly upon, regardless of any member of the Supreme Court, is not going to look fondly upon the administration coming out and saying, if you're going to use the Andrew Jackson, he's made his ruling, now let him enforce it. If you're going to use that, you don't use that on a frickin' district court judge. He's not worthy of that. And what they've done is given themselves an absolutely legally airtight process here, which I'll get into in more detail here. But we got to watch some more Gigajoo.
Just say no, and then you'll know that I'm right.
This is a
Just
separate
say no,
question,
and you'll know that I'm
Stephen.
right.
Okay, we're not talking about other troops
the
overseas.
president.
I need to ask you about
It's
something
not.
else.
The
that's
president
important.
issued a proclamation delineating in detail how the Venezuelan regime sent this gang, this terrorist organization, to our shores. And by the way, and I love being here, but all the outrage that we are seeing from the Democrat Party and from the corporate media.
I wish it would have. I wish the clip didn't cut off there. I want to know what he said next. But I want to make sure that I have this. Actually, you know, I was going to do these later, but let me pull these up now because I want to make sure this is clear before we go on. So this is from, I got a couple of two good tweets here from a guy I've never seen before. The first one, this is unseen1_unseen. It says, hey, Massey clown supporters, is it not a coincidence that Trump waited until after the continuing resolution was approved to trigger the Alien Enemies Act? He had to wait 50 days before he got the funding needed to execute this order. It takes a lot of money to deport people. Massey and Paul wanted to stop that continuing resolution. Now, why would they want to stop Trump's deportation policy? And, just for context, he asked Grok how much an increased spending on deportation was in the CR that just passed. Grok's answer, the recent continuing resolution passed by Congress, includes increased funding for ICE to support immigration enforcement activities, including deportation. Based on the available information, this CR allocates an additional $430 million to ICE specifically for immigration detention beds, transportation, and deportation costs. This figure represents the total increase for these combined purposes as outlined in reports from the American Immigration Council and other sources. Not explicitly detailed whether it's for deportation or whatever, but it says other sources such as social media posts suggest varying amounts, 400 to 485 specifically for deportations, but the $430 million increase remains the most reliable and authoritative estimate available. In summary, the increased spending on deportation in the continuing resolution just passed as part of a $430 million allocation to ICE for immigration enforcement, which includes deportation costs, though a specific breakdown isolating deportation alone is not provided. So, again, I want to remind you, you had the CR that had to get passed to get this additional funding to actually facilitate this. And I had a clip in there. I should have put it in today's show, but I had a clip in there of what's his name, Eric Prince, talking about what it costs to do all these flights and to manage all this stuff, and talking about how it could be done much cheaper and more effectively privately. And I suspect something like that's going to happen eventually. But a lot of these things, they have to be done in a particular order. So we got that memo or that letter. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the thing Marco Rubio said where he was declaring all of these separate different issues relating to people or things going across to and from across the border. This is now within our domain. This is within my purview. This is part of the foreign affairs matters that the executive branch handles within the Secretary of State. So then Trump is directing them to engage in this now once they've got this funding, and an additional 700,000 deportation warrants have been signed. So you have if you created the two circles, you created the Venn diagram of the people who were chimping out on behalf of Massey, being like, oh, they're just going to continue all the Doge spending, and the people who are chimping out at Trump for not deporting anybody. So they're opposed to the CR bill that Trump said, I need the CR bill. And what? So he's supposed to say, I need the CR bill so that I can invoke the Alien Enemies Act to broadcast everything that's happening. Or does he say, I need this CR bill passed so that I can get funding for deportations? All of these retarded black-pilling doom-fappers are like, he just hasn't done enough. He needs to do more. Why doesn't he come out and tell us what he's going to... For crying out loud. How much more evidence do you need that these guys know exactly what they're doing? And they're going to great lengths to facilitate the process of doing it. The whole process, the whole thing, okay, we're going to roll this out. We're going to keep it under wraps Oh, no, okay, the news broke. We need to get these flights out of here ASAP because they're going to try to block it. We're going to have our legal arguments prepared, but they're going to try to call these planes back. So we need to get these planes out of the country and get these people gone. And then they do a victory lap and dunk on him. And then they send the Giga Jew out to go humiliate them. Well, they're trying to get him to say something to get them in the media is trying to get him to say something to get the administration in hot water, to give them more issues they have to work through with the courts. But everyone who's like champing at the bit and wants to see like Trump come out and just throw double birds to the Supreme Court and run around holding his dick, that's not the way to be successful here. I know it would make you feel very gratified, but you got to recognize this is a you thing. You don't have the patience or the discipline to keep up with the actual pros here. And then here's another tweet from the same guy. He said, here's the problem for the leftists on the whole Alien Enemies Act. Trump didn't just pull the act out of his back pocket and slap it down on the table. He's spent the last 2 months setting the legal and political groundwork for its usage, as well as the fiscal congressional groundwork to be able to use it. On January 20th, he ordered the military to seal the border and repel the invasion, including, quote, continuous assessments of all available options to protect the sovereign territory of the United States from mass unlawful entry and impingement on our national sovereignty and security by foreign nations and transnational criminal organizations. On January 20th, he also declared a national emergency, stating that America's sovereignty is under attack. Our southern border is overrun by cartels, criminal gangs, known terrorists, human traffickers, smugglers, unvetted military-age males from foreign adversaries, and illicit narcotics that harm Americans, including America. This invasion has caused widespread chaos and suffering in our country over the last 4 years. He was acting in his commander-in-chief role legally here. On January 20th, he also issued an EO to all agencies to protect the American people from the invasion. He did this as chief executive and chief law enforcement agent, invoking immigration law. On January 20th, he issued another proclamation that he would defend the states from the invasion, citing SCOTUS precedent here, and also citing Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution to protect states from invasion. On January 20th, he also issued an order starting the process to name these cartels and gangs as foreign terrorist organizations, which brings a whole other bunch of laws and powers into the fray. So on day one, President Trump declared an emergency at the border, labeled it an invasion, invoked Article 4, Section 4 for the federal government to defend the states from invasion, ordered the military to secure the border and repel the invaders, labeled who the invaders were, started the process to declare these groups foreign terrorists, and ordered all agencies in the executive department to assist in fighting the invasion. Short of declaring war, he couldn't have made a more legal and strong proclamation. He listed the laws and court cases he was following, his powers as commander-in-chief, chief executive, and chief law enforcement official. The process was continued with Secretary of State formally declaring these groups foreign terrorists who were invaders into the country and signing an agreement with El Salvador to house these invaders. The kicker is that with all the federal lawsuits, none of these EOs, proclamations, and actions were enjoined because every action has already been decided by courts. Fast forward. Now, after Trump secured funding for the process with the CR and all the other chips were laid down, he invoked the Alien Enemies Act. The left's legal ground is he can't use the AEA because we are not at war being invaded. But Trump has already declared an invasion 2 months ago, which has never been questioned or enjoined, and has made numerous executive and military actions within his declaration. A declaration never challenged in court because it's subjective and based on the commander-in-chief's opinion. It's a political question, not a judicial question. So the left doesn't have a legal leg to stand on. Trump's already built the case by his words and actions. They've been, like, in retrospect, if you were following this, if you were listening to this show, you would have been picking up on a lot of these things as they were dropped, because I've covered all of these things. But now looking back on it, you can see how they have been proactively laying the groundwork for all of this. Someone might want to call it 4D chess. Knock yourself out. But I think this ought to make it clear that appealing to so-called 4D chess with this administration is absolutely justified. Because they've spent the greater part of 4 years preparing for all of these things. And they have legitimately excellent Jews on their side, lawyers, experts in constitutional law and case law, to cross all of their I's and dot all of their T's to ensure that there is no basis for them to be prevented from executing each one of these things. Another Giga-Jew clip. Here's him going after Andrew Weissman.
But let me play this first from somebody who I know is not a favorite of President Trump. This is Andrew Weissman, who's a former top Mueller prosecutor. Of course, it's not a huge surprise that he didn't like this operation. He doesn't think it's legal under the act that you just mentioned, Stephen. Watch.
We're not at war with Venezuela. We're not at war with the gang that is the subject of the executive order. There is no invasion that is going on. And you also have to show that the people you're removing are actually part of that gang, even if there were an invasion or a war. And this statute may, in fact, be very unconstitutional.
So the judge has to be convinced that these individuals aren't real. I mean, it's a huge group, and nobody's going to miss any of these people, but they're quantifiable. So can you prove that these individuals were linked with Tren de Aragua, and that Tren de Aragua is part of a Maduro operation, Stephen?
So first of all, Andrew Weissman is an absolute moron. He is a moron, and he is a fool, and he's a degenerate. Andrew Weissman has devoted his career to putting innocent Americans in jail, taking away their civil liberties. He was involved in the Mueller coup against a democratically elected President Donald J. Trump. Weissman should never be on TV anywhere. He should hang his head in eternal shame for what he's done to this country.
Hang his
shit! And now he's up there shilling for people who rape and murder Americans. That's who Andrew Weissman is. I met the mother of Jocelyn Nungary, Alexis Nungary, who President Trump honored at the State of the Union, named a national wildlife refuge after her daughter. Tren de Aragua terrorists took that 12-year-old angel and they tortured her to death. They sexually assaulted her. They stripped her and they dumped her body in a river. That's who President Trump has deported from this country. Behind every single one of those terrorists was another future rape victim, another future sex trafficking victim, another future murder victim. And most importantly, every one of those people was here illegally. They have no right to be in this country for 1 second longer. They are illegal aliens, they are foreign terrorists, they are alien enemies. And the law at the heart of this issue was signed in the founding generation of this country, the same generation that wrote our Constitution. People say, oh, it's an 18th century law. You know what else is an 18th century law? The Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights of the United States. The founding generation gave us this law, gave President Trump this law to repel this invasion from our country.
I mean, there's
and it
no
was
higher...
all detailed in the proclamation, how this gang was sent here by a foreign government, and President Trump is sending them out of this country.
Well, we look forward to learning.
Nothing makes this man happier than his laws, his favorite laws. This law allows me to deport the brownies. My favorite law. It's a beautiful law. It's a wonderful law. I love my laws. Jew on Jew violence. James on Twitter asks, have you or are you going to talk about Iran developments? I haven't followed the story at all over the last couple of days. I just saw what was happening, but I don't have any details or anything. So we'll see between now and tomorrow's show if something comes up that I seems worth getting into. Okay. Then one last one. We can't have enough. We can't have enough Giga Jew here. Here's him chimping out about rogue judges. The question is really quiet. I can barely hear it myself. So yeah, nothing I can do about it.
Well, again, the whole thing is just preposterous. So, as the Department of Justice has said in writing, nothing that the administration did conflicted with the court order. But there's a bigger issue here, which is the court order is patently unlawful. And if we got...
I couldn't really hear the question either. I pick out a couple of things here, but you kind of get the gist of it from his response.
Bigger issue here, which the court order is patently unlawful. And if we got into a place in this country where district court judges could, for example, help is the wrong word, could interfere and direct specific targeting or non-targeting in, say, Houthi-controlled territory, could direct which general on the battlefield is going to be in charge of making which decisions, could direct, for example, we can send this military asset to this country, but not this country, could direct what intelligence we could share with Israel versus with Saudi Arabia. If a district court judge can be involved in the conduct of our foreign policy, under no definition do we have a democracy in this country. I mean, not to get too philosophical, but for a long time in this country, power has been concentrated principally in two areas: the unelected bureaucracy and the unelected judiciary. And power has been increasingly concentrated in these two areas. And in the case of the hard left, the judiciary takes steps to protect the bureaucracy, and that further it shrinks the circle in which democracy is occurring. So take an example, just like firing recalcitrant bureaucrats. So bureaucrats serve at the pleasure of the president. The president is elected by the American people. So you have unelected judges protecting the jobs of unelected bureaucrats to pursue their own policy preferences. So when Americans vote for big shifts in policy, they're voting for the president. And so we tend to think about executive power as this, well, it should be, and we ought to think about it as being a unified power. But what it's become increasingly is a severed power, and more of it has been accumulated in the bureaucracy. And then when unelected judges empower the bureaucracy. So, for example, there's a large section of our bureaucracy that doesn't want to deport any of these aliens, right? And they collude with the ACLU and the judiciary to try to keep them here in this country. So this is really about the restoration of democracy and saying that the person that's elected by the whole American people can implement these big policy shifts. Otherwise, what you have, which has unfortunately afflicted a lot of the Western world, is a situation where voters can't vote for the change that they want. And so this is really fundamentally about democracy. The American people said to get these terrorist gangs the hell out of our country. The president has plenary authority under the Constitution, under the Alien Enemies Act, under the INA, under core Article 2 powers to achieve that. And no district court judge who presides over just some small, like little geography of the whole country could possibly presume to have the authority to direct the expulsion of terrorists from our soil, who, by the way, are also here illegally. Thank you, everybody.
Hermetic Hegemony has a couple super chats here. First one for $5. He says, I can see him laughing the dual citizen community all the way on the plane back to the desert. Tough luck, cousin Kyle. You aren't the mensch I am. And then he said, $2. He says, see last super chat. They suffer for their leaders. They do indeed. They do. They could be a very valuable people to have around. I'm just sitting here reading your guys' comments and imagining him with Curtis Yarvin hair, and I don't know. The resemblance is pretty close there. Oh, sorry, I unshared the screen. Yeah, here. I could see it. I could definitely see it. If he had the hair, he could pull it off. He's a much better speaker, though. Another $20 from Duffhead. He says, who wants Matt to wear real pit vipers for the labe? Well, you know, these ones here are broken right up on the top here. They're just barely held together. And I've been thinking about getting myself some pit vipers. So, yeah, maybe we can do that. This administration just keeps outdoing themselves. Now we've got the press secretary. I voted for this posting. She says the American people voted for this. I'm going to speed this one up because there's, you can kind of see what's going on here. But this is posted by the Rapid Response account. This is all of these prisoners showing up in El Salvador. The Trump tweet on the bottom here says, "These are the monsters sent into our country by crooked Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats. How dare they? Thank you to El Salvador, and in particular President Bukele, for your understanding of this horrible situation, which was allowed to happen in the United States because of incompetent Democrat leadership. We will not forget." Giving him the Norwood. Absolute Kino. We have a president whose administration is now posting highlight reels of them taking out their ops. This from Sarah Carter says, breaking, Tren de Aragua members meet fate in El Salvador, welcomed by highly skilled and trained law enforcement operators to CCOT maximum security prison. According to sources, Homeland Security Special Response Team, along with ICE officers, said, quote, they had never seen such quality organization, policing, and soldiering as they encountered in El Salvador when the irate prisoners were delivered. Most of the personnel involved in the operation were former team members and guys coming from other elite U.S. special operators. According to a source familiar with the operation, quote, some Venezuelans tried to overthrow one of their planes. Then they fought when they were being taken off. One of them cursed Bukele, the El Salvadorian police and army, and the whole country. Our friend had had enough of the guy's mouth, and he climbed the steps and personally dragged the guy to the bus and sent him on his way. One of the special response teams said the terrorists were full of fight until they reached the threshold of the plane and saw what was awaiting them. He added, when they saw the force awaiting them, it took the fight right out of them. We have never seen an arrival like this. And then Sarah Carter says, I know exactly what's waiting for them, and it really is not pretty at all. I had the opportunity of spending time in a CCOT prison and interviewing prisoners. I also saw what an incredibly organized and professional operation it was. They are never getting out. Look at that. That's what they showed up to. Dragging their asses off. And then, the Trump War Room account this morning posted this video, which was retweeted, quote tweeted with the musical note emojis by our favorite Mongol, Stephen Chung.
Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home.
Oh my God, it's so good. And then they asked Caroline Leavitt about it at this press conference. And this is what she said.
Biden administration abused.
That one's really quiet.
Biden administration abused to facilitate the mass illegal entry of illegal immigrants into our country. It was like a fast pass at Disneyland. That's not happening under this administration. We are encouraging illegal immigrants to actively self-deport to maybe save themselves from being in one of these fun videos. Sure.
That was one story I saw that I forgot to include. Remember that CBP1 app that they were using for people to schedule their asylum hearings and get themselves fast-tracked across the border? They took the exact same app and they shut it down, overhauled it, and added a self-deport option on it now. So now people who want to self-deport can schedule themselves for their self-deportation. It's so good. And then someone else got another clip here of our lovely press secretary reacting.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about this video I saw this morning set to the tune of, I believe, Closing Time, about deportations of illegal migrants. What's the strategy behind the White House's videos they've been putting out on this, and can you kind of talk us through the thinking on these videos?
Sure. I think the White House and our entire government clearly is leaning into the message of this president. And we are unafraid to double down and to take responsibility and ownership of the serious decisions that are being made. The president was elected with an overwhelming mandate to launch the largest mass deportation campaign in American history, and that's exactly what he is doing. And to this very day, we are now, I think, 56 or 7 days into the administration by my count. The president still receives an overwhelming public support for the policies that he is enacting. So we are unafraid to message effectively what the president is doing on a daily basis to make our communities safer. And the specific video you referenced, I think it sums up our immigration policy pretty well. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
They're just so good at this. Duffhead. Rosie O'Donnell took him up on the offer. She self-deported. Oh, and another one. They just, I forgot I had this clip in here. They just keep piling up. We haven't had a Tom Homan clip in a little while, and this is a good one. He just drops the mic right on him.
You say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
But some would say this is...
How many more times do you plan to...
The way he shakes his head when he turns around to walk away.
Don't we?
But some would say this is...
How many more times do you...
Pathetic. Pathetic. It's our grug. Based grug. And check this out. A young Tom Homan, pictured as a Border Patrol agent. Look at that man. Look at that stud. Back when we had a country. He knows what it was like. He's bringing it back for us. Thank you, Tom Homan. And then I got a couple more tabs here. Last few things as we come into the 2-hour mark. It turns out that this judge, this ding 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 judge, is exactly who you'd expect him to be. Molly Hemingway says, "Wow, did not realize Boasberg's wife is so extreme that she founded an abortuary. The wife of the judge who tried to block Trump from deporting gang members to El Salvador has donated thousands of dollars to political opponents of Trump and founded a D.C. area abortion clinic. This is what the dude looks like. Meet the Obama-appointed judge trying to stop Trump from deporting criminal illegals." It's from Daily Wire. Not too bad. This is a very interesting thing. Daily Wire, suddenly they got a petition to pardon Derek Chauvin. Color me suspicious. The federal judge who tried to block President Donald Trump's deportation efforts has a history of stonewalling Trump immigration policies and spared one of the FBI officials behind the Russiagate hoax from prison. United States District Judge James Boasberg placed a 14-day restraining order on Trump's effort to rapidly deport criminal illegal aliens associated with Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang and foreign terror organization, prompting public outcry and igniting an effort to impeach him from his seat. One of the congressmen has already introduced articles of impeachment, I think. He hindered Trump's immigration enforcement efforts in 2018 with a ruling that limited the administration's ability to detain migrant families who had entered the country. The judge's ruling took aim at 5 Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention centers, preventing them from categorically denying parole to foreign nationals and effectively instructing the administration to release a greater number of migrants into the interior of the country. The ruling undermined the administration's attempt to discourage border crossings by detaining migrants rather than by rewarding them with release in the United States. In another widely publicized ruling, Boasberg showed leniency to FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith, the only person charged in connection with the probe into Trump's 2016 campaign. Kleinsmith admitted that he altered an email to an FBI agent that was used to support a surveillance application against the Trump campaign. Carter Page, an advisor for the Trump campaign, was incorrectly labeled as not a source for the CIA in the email, a move which heightened suspicions of the campaign. Kleinsmith pled guilty to a felony false statement, but Boasberg refused to send him to prison, indicating that the disgraced former FBI attorney had already suffered enough after enduring a media hurricane. Kleinsmith instead was only sentenced to 1 year of probation and 400 hours of community service. He went from being an obscure government lawyer to standing in the eye of a media hurricane, Boasberg remarked. He's not someone who ever sought the limelight or invited controversy other than by his criminal action here. He never invited controversy other than by his criminal action. Anybody who's watched what Mr. Kleinsmith has suffered is not someone who would readily act in that fashion. Boasberg's wife, Elizabeth Manson, what a name, has also been involved in partisan political activity and even donated over $11,000 to Democratic candidates, federal data shows. She gave a combined $3,000 to the Hillary Victory Fund and Hillary for America when the Democratic candidate was facing off against Trump in the 2016 election. Quote, "Be prepared to get weepy. It's an amazing feeling," she wrote on Facebook in the lead up to the 2016 election, in anticipation of a Clinton victory that never materialized. She went on to bemoan the Trump victory shortly after. "I need a smile on my page after this ghastly week," she wrote. She's the founder of Meadow Reproductive Health and Wellness, an abortion clinic in Northern Virginia. In-clinic abortions are safe, simple medical procedures. At Meadow, our providers offer procedures up to 15 weeks of gestation. Manson's clinic writes on its site, "We offer both telehealth and in-person medication abortion services for patients up to 11 weeks of gestation." Boasberg's restraining order came after the Trump administration had already deported more than 250 criminal illegal aliens to El Salvador, which has formed a partnership with the United States and has agreed to detain the aliens in its terrorism confinement center. Representative Brandon Gill, Republican from Texas, has now announced that he will be filing articles of impeachment against Boasberg this week. I would say that both of them need to be arrested and deported. Maybe that's just me. And then some more details on a couple of these stories here. As many know, this is from Jeff Carlson, at The Market's Work on Twitter. He says, as many know, Judge Boasberg was a FISA court judge, but it gets worse. He also reviewed James Comey's memos prior to release in 2018 and oversaw release of Clinton emails in Judicial Watch case back in 2016. He gave FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith probation for lying to the FISA court by fundamentally altering a CIA email that exonerated Carter Page. He appointed Deep Stater Mary McCord as amicus curiae advisor to the FISA court after McCord played a material role in personally misleading the FISA court in the Page FISA. He was also involved in the Ray Epps case, giving Epps probation and calling Epps and his wife victims of conspiracy theories. Man, this guy's just playing all the greatest hits. Finally, he took time out to personally attend Trump's D.C. trial, seemingly just for the enjoyment of it. And this here, this is from Mike Davis. He said, the D.C. court ordered expedited briefing on the Trump 47 Justice Department's emergency motion to stay D.C. Obama Judge Jeb Boasberg's clearly illegal order. He told the president he can't deport designated foreign terrorists and even ordered the president to turn around planes mid-flight. And the very last thing here is, this is a quote from Trump's Justice Department. Actually, I'm just going to read the whole motion here. Sean Davis said Boasberg and the D.C. judicial insurrectionists, which is a very good phrase. This is one that should be used a lot. The judicial insurrectionists have sown the wind, and they're about to reap the whirlwind. This is what they say. So this is Trump's Justice Department writing to the court. Plaintiffs cannot use these proceedings to interfere with the president's national security and foreign affairs authority, and the court lacks jurisdiction to do so. In response to plaintiffs' filing and this court's order setting a hearing for this afternoon, the government submits the below response. Because it provides the necessary information to confirm the government's compliance and represents the full extent of what counsel is authorized to share with the public or plaintiffs, the court should vacate the hearing and de-escalate the grave incursions on executive branch authority that have already arisen. As the government has already explained and plaintiffs do not appear to dispute, the government complied with the court's temporary restraining order issued during the morning of March 15 and did not remove any of the 5 individual plaintiffs. So these are the 5 plaintiffs here are some of these designated terrorists who are designated for removal, and someone's representing them in this appeal, and they're saying, those ones, we did not remove any of them. The government did so despite its powerful jurisdictional and other objections to the court's unprecedented assertion of judicial power to review the proclamation. CF, this case, explaining that the very nature of the president's power to order the removal of all enemy aliens rejects the notion that courts may pass judgment upon the exercise of his discretion. Much of plaintiff's submission rests on the oral directives that the court provided during the hearing held during the evening of March 15th. But as plaintiffs implicitly recognize, the court's written injunction, which issued at approximately 7:25 p.m., properly did not seek to interfere with the president's Article 2 powers to conduct military operations overseas by directing the return of aliens associated with a designated foreign terrorist organization who had already been removed from United States territory, even though the written order did memorialize other narrower oral directives from the hearing. So basically, the judge made some oral statements, and then what he actually wrote down was much narrower. And the plaintiff's submission rests on those oral directives that they proceed to say that they lay out the case for why those are not binding. This part's a little dry, talking about oral versus written orders, and they're in compliance with the written orders. In accord with this well-established law, the written minute order governed. It enjoined the government from removing the foreign terrorists pursuant to the proclamation. The government did not violate that injunction. So there was the terrorists who were on the planes who were already on the way, and then there was the terrorists who were not on the planes, not sent out yet. And what they're saying is, there's the jurisdiction here that they complied with that order, even though they're saying we shouldn't have to. They're saying we complied with this order. That order there, you have no jurisdiction over. Saying you need to turn the plane around and fly it back is the judge saying you have detained designated foreign terrorists outside the United States. And you need to now take them and bring them into the United States. Using military personnel. I'm going to direct military personnel to bring them into the United States. That's the insanity of this order. As to any flights that were already outside U.S. territory and airspace, anyone aboard had already been removed within the meaning of the Alien Enemies Act and the court's order, and therefore were not covered by the order. The plain meaning of remove is the transfer or moving of a person or thing from one location, position, or residence to another. We're appealing to the definition of remove here. This is how petty they are. I love it. And that meaning aligns with the context of the Alien Enemies Act, which is concerned with protecting the territorial integrity of the United States from foreign incursions, not what happens to the alien enemies after they are removed from the United States. Accordingly, plaintiffs' assertions about U.S. custody after 7:25 p.m. are not relevant, and plaintiffs' questions about what occurred beyond U.S. territory or airspace, which implicate sensitive questions of national security, foreign relations, and coordination with foreign nations, are neither material nor appropriate. Indeed, they cannot be answered in public proceedings. Neither plaintiffs nor the public are entitled to that sort of sensitive national security information, and the government is not prepared to disclose it. Finally, even if the court's order had purported to enjoin the government from taking steps overseas pursuant to the proclamation, that still would not restrict the president from exercising his other authorities under the Constitution to engage in diplomatic negotiations and to protect the United States from dangerous terrorists and criminals already outside the country. The president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. This power is exclusive to the president and includes all authorities essential to its due exercise. As commander-in-chief, the president is authorized to direct the movements of the naval and military forces placed by law at his command and to employ them in the manner he may deem most effectual to harass and conquer and subdue the enemy. These are all quotes from various different cases. The president is also constitutionally empowered to engage in diplomatic negotiations and foreign relations. These inherent Article 2 powers, especially when exercised outside the United States, are not subject to judicial review or intervention. Quoting from these other cases, this court has no jurisdiction of a bill to enjoin the president in the performance of his official duties, and the conduct of the foreign relations of our government is committed by the Constitution to the executive and legislative, the political departments of the government, and the propriety of what may be done in the exercise of this political power is not subject to judicial inquiry or decision. And finally, matters intimately related to foreign policy and national security are rarely proper subjects for judicial intervention. In sum, just as a court assuredly could not enjoin the president from carrying out a foreign drone strike or an overseas military operation, or from negotiating with a foreign power to coordinate on such an operation, nor could a court lawfully restrict the president's inherent Article 2 authority to work with a foreign nation to transfer terrorists and criminals who are already outside the United States. Consequently, even if one could broadly and improperly construe the court's written minute order as restricting the government from, quote, turning over to foreign governments, alien enemies who are already abroad, that still was limited by its terms to actions taken pursuant to the proclamation. Once the terrorists had been removed from the United States, any decision by the president to take such actions pursuant to independent constitutional authority is therefore not a violation of the court's orders in all events. The judge is trying to step outside his authority on so many levels, but in particular, what they're highlighting here is they were outside the United States, and there's military troop movements, and so demanding that the president order military personnel carrying terrorists to turn around and come back into the country is completely beyond the pale. In legal speak, this is fairly what's the word? This is strong. These are strong statements. Because there has been no violation of the court's orders, and because the government is not prepared to disclose any further national security or operational security details to plaintiffs or the public, the court should vacate the hearing scheduled for this afternoon. The government does not make this request lightly. The executive branch has designated TDA a foreign terrorist organization, a designation that plaintiffs do not challenge. The course of these proceedings, in which the court has enjoined removal of aliens whom the executive branch has determined are part of a foreign terrorist organization, raises extraordinary concerns about the rule of law and the executive branch's ability to take swift actions to keep the nation safe. And note the first three names on here: Pamela J. Bondi, Todd Blanche, and Emile Beauvais. So it'll be interesting to see how this proceeds tomorrow. This is about the, as far as I got to seeing what had gone on here. Apparently the judge already denied the motion to vacate. So we're going to get more to this story. But I'm very heartened to see the administration being as aggressive as they are on this. And as 48 said in that one clip I played with him, like, the first thing they need to do is they need to lock down the border, which they've done. Lock down the border, completely cut off. They're facilitating self-deportation, they're encouraging self-deportation, and they're focusing on all of the most violent first. Get them out. Now they've gotten their funding, so they can start adding to all the different efforts that they're undertaking. But anybody who's acting like this is something that they could just like snap their fingers and immediately be deporting 10 million people a day or whatever is the... like suddenly, all of a sudden, you think the government is going to work really hyper efficiently? No, they've got a tremendous amount of stuff they've got to wade through, and as far as I can tell, they've been doing a phenomenal job of it. All right, I think there was a super chat up here that I missed. Where is it here? Oh yeah, just scrolled past it. $5 from See You in the Camp. Thank you, friend. Says favorite Miller clip is his explaining how we need to get foreign nationals out of the country and names every continent on Earth except Europe. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that one. Oh, he's my favorite guy, man. Okay, let me see if there was any other comments that I want to address before I get you guys out of here. Hulk is heating up. Those of you who are members of the King Pill, just $5 a month. If you're a member, then you can start dropping the special Hulk emote in there, the HH emote. Talking about Ray Shrimmer's in here. I haven't heard about Ray Shrimmer's in a long time. Eardrummers backwards. If you know, you know. Politically Catholic says, Matt, you can't end the show today without weighing in on Trump declaring Biden's pardons null and void, deciding that autopens are the exception. I had that in the stack for today, but as it is, I've already gone 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I dropped those off, and those are going to be on the show tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow for that particular subject. I don't think it's a coincidence that these are happening at the same time. TC says, can't tell if Trump admin are losing political capital fast or gaining it. So much noise and cringe and sabotage. All the polling numbers are all as high as they've ever been. And effectively, especially as long as the Democrats are polling as badly as they are, even if he was polling negative, he's not. He's positive by a wide margin. But even if he was polling in the negative, there's no conceivable alternative to him. And ultimately, public opinion matters, and they need to cultivate it. But they are now leading public opinion. Public opinion is following them. They're not as They don't have to be reactive or defensive now in the same way they used to have to be. Vitalow says, Black Pill, Secret Service wrongfully protecting the extended Biden family. Not that we want anything to happen, but still. I saw today that the Secret Service has been withdrawn from Hunter and Ashley Biden. So, I mean, they've removed security clearances and Secret Service protection for virtually all of the people that we would consider their greatest enemies. So all of the Clappers and Comeys and Brennans and even Pompeo. So it's not just just Democrats. No, they recognize who their enemies are, even the ones who ostensibly call themselves Republicans. There's much more radical sentiment within the administration than they are permitted to be public about right now. So you get little leaks of it every now and then, but it's very obvious that the existing this Trump administration is both much more radical than anyone has been in the past, and that they are extremely, extremely competent. Bryce says he's just acting like a president and chief executive. We can just do things because they've already been done. That's right. Okay, so tomorrow I'll be talking about the auto pen scandal, and I'll talk a little bit about some Tesla stuff. There's actually there's an interesting, on the Seattle subreddit, firefighter posted talking about how he was like, guys, can you not be lighting electric vehicles on fire, because that's not good for anybody. And there's some pretty funny comments in it as the leftoid spurg. So we'll read through that tomorrow, and then we'll see whatever other stories come up. But for now, that's all I got. Hulk is warming up. Do me a favor and hit the like button. We're at 89. Can we get another 11 and at least get to 100 before the end of Hulk? Hit the like button. Go follow me on Twitter at RealKingPill. Join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com, where the fun never ends. The live chat continues. The live chat never ends when you're in the King Pill Discord. And also, if you'd like to help me pay the bills so I can keep doing this on a regular basis, then you can support the show by leaving a super chat or joining the King Pill Discord, or there's a King Pilled Cash App. There is Buy Me a Coffee. Both of those links are in the description. And also, King Pilled Substack. Go over there and subscribe. It's free to subscribe. There is a paid option. A couple more of you guys have come through with the paid options. I see you guys. I appreciate you. So if you like to support that way, that's a thing you can do. But everything I post on there now is for free. So you guys can go get all of the links that I went through today if you want to go watch the Giga Juice some more or read through any of these things. That's the place to go. Kingpilled.substack.com. Kingpilled on Substack. So for now, see you guys tomorrow, and I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
And I just have to say, to Boomer in the chat, he asked me to tell him that his wife is hot. Boomer, your wife is hot.